period profit determination. So you use standard cost. Standard cost means you assume a certain rate for labor, you assume a certain time for direct labor producing something. So you assume standard normal cost for everything. And what I want to show you is how you determine under normal costing income statements when it comes to different amounts of units produced and units sold. One major issue what you should consider is that fixed manufacturing cost per unit depend on the so-called denominator of production. This means, in a simple way, the more you produce, the lower is your fixed cost rate. In our example, when you have fixed manufacturing cost per period of 100,000, and when you produce 20,000 units, fixed cost of 5 per unit. When you assume a production of 15,000, fixed cost per unit are 6.67. We call that fixed cost degression. Fixed cost degression means fixed cost rates per unit are the lower the more you produce. So companies which fully utilize their capacity are able to produce cheaper than companies which only use maybe 50% of their capacity. And this is important to know, because when sometimes demand goes down when you face a crisis, maybe nowadays, you have big capacities, and what to do? Normally you think you should maybe reduce your production when demand goes down. The problem is that income statements might show a different picture when you reduce your production units. We will come to that issue. But first, I'd like to explain you something, a line which is used in internal income statements when you use standard cost. When you use standard cost, you first calculate an income statement with your standard product cost. But of course, you could have different production units than assumed in your normal capacity. So, if you have a normal capacity of maybe 20,000 and you calculate with 5 euros fixed manufacturing cost per unit, the costs differ in real terms when you have in your actuals different production units. So then a production volume variance comes into play. And this line considers the cost difference between fixed cost per unit assumed and fixed cost per unit actually incurred. And the formula is that you take actual production units minus the denominator level of production. So this is what you have assumed in your standard costing systems times the fixed manufacturing cost rate based on the denominator level of production. Now you need to include an additional line in your income statement when it's about normal costing or standard costing. And we'll do that based on an example, of course. Fredonia Fixtures, that is the company, the manufacturing company we are talking about. They have one product and the sales price is 71. Then you have different cost pieces. First for variable cost, 4, 21 and 24. So altogether variable cost per unit amount to 49. And now we have a fixed cost production of 54,000 at a normal capacity of 12,000 units. And we have fixed manufacturing cost per unit. Here you see, 54,000 over 12 is exactly 4.5. The non-manufacturing cost of 30,000 per year, and we have variable non-manufacturing cost of 2 per unit sold. And these are the numbers of units produced and units sold. In the first year you produced 10,000 units. In the second year you produced 11,500. Units sold are 8,000 period 1 and 13,000 period 2. So the closing stock is 5,000 units. And now this will be your concluding task for the day. Compute income statements, year number 1 and year number 2, using absorption costing and variable costing. I have, by the way, an Excel sheet uploaded on Moodle, and you should be able to use that. I show it. Here, this is what you should be able to download from Moodle if you want. So you could use this format for computing, for generating the income statements. If you prefer to do that manually based on your calculators, yeah, I'm fine as well. It's up to you. I thought it might save a little time when you use the Excel format, because the format is then given and all the information is given on the Excel sheet. So, take 15 minutes and then we'll do it together here in the classroom.